Hi, welcome to the Corvallis Business Network podcast, where we're talking about how to help your BNI experience. I am Scott Kemp with Cinematic Solutions, a member of the chapter, and this is Jesse Freeby with Corvallis Custom. How are you doing today, Jesse?
I'm doing great, Scott. Good to see you again.
Yeah. So today, what are we talking about?
Referrals
Referrals.
and passing quality referrals.
Quality.
Yep. So one of the big things is when brand new members come into the chapter is like a lead and a referral are indistinguishable.
Yeah.
They think it's exactly the same thing, and they think I need to pass one of these every single week. And so we have a lot of times new members will show up to the chapter and they'll be like, "Hey, I looked this person up in the phone book, and I think they could use your services."
What's a phone book anymore anyway?
They look them up on Google.
Okay.
But what distinguishes a referral from a lead is actually the passing of credibility, right?
Yeah.
So I've used some of my credibility that I have with this potential referral source for you, and I've told them about your business, and I've told them about the problem that you solve, and then I've introduced you to that person.
So let's role play on what let's do what a lead might be, what a lead might look like.
So I'm driving down the road and I see that the Benton County Fair is coming to town, right? And I'm like, you know what? The Benton County Fair could really advertise to people. Scott, you should call the Benton County Fair up and see if they need any video services or if they want to start a podcast.
Yeah. So, I don't just want to call some guy out of the blue. That's basically cold calling, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely cold calling. Right?
So,
and even though I identified a potential business source for you, I literally did nothing to help connect them with you and your business.
And BNI is really not passing leads. That's kind of a dirty word, right? BNI is leads.
Yeah. So the goal is referrals.
Referrals.
So again, a referral is I have a relationship with this person, or I have identified a problem that you can solve with them, and I've taken action, right? I've used my credibility in that relationship that I have with them and the action is going out and having a conversation with them where I explain to them, hey, I saw that you had this problem. I know somebody that can solve this problem for you. His name is Scott Kemp. I know in previous years, the Benton County Fair, we're using that as the same example, has done some TV ads, and you guys have done some things on social media. You really need to talk to my good buddy Scott. He's got Cinematic Solutions. They do incredible work. He works for, and I tell him about all the people that you've worked for and some of the businesses that you've done in the past. And what I'm really doing is I'm taking that individual who may not know anything about your business, and I'm painting a picture for them about what the solution to this problem could look like if they were just to do work with you. And then before I pass that person to you, I'm going to try to get the Benton County Fair to be excited about that, right? Like, oh man, I definitely.
And you're going to ask them, do you want to talk to Scott? Do you want to learn more about him and have him give you a call or that sort of thing?
And what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to be your outside salesperson. And so that's the big thing that new members should take away from this is, again, difference between referral and a lead, but you're training the members of our chapter to be your outside salespeople. And so chapter members are really, really good about parroting or about repeating the information that you give us. So if you're a new member that comes into our chapter and during your 45 seconds, you say, hey, I'm looking for everybody in the world, right? Oh, I can do business with anybody. Just send anybody to me. That's what we're going to give you, right? And so if I'm passing everybody in the world to you, is that me giving you a lead or is that me giving you a referral? And a lot of times those look like leads because you haven't told me how to qualify that person or the problem that you solve that would allow me to, really hone in on that referral and pass that credibility to you. And so that's the big thing is new members when they come in need to be able to explain what my business is, right? What my business does, the problem that I solve for people, and then how the members of the chapter should introduce those people to me so that I can solve that problem for them.
Right. So it is kind of a training issue. I mean, you can't just, say a handyman comes in and you think you might know how to tell that to somebody, but the handyman really needs to let them know. Maybe they don't hate climbing on ladders and screwing in light bulbs. Maybe that's a fear of heights for them. You definitely don't want those referrals then, right?
Definitely. So I'll tell you a story about my first 6 months in BNI. So we own a printing company, and we do everything from apparel printing to large format printing.
Best printing company in Corvallis, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So we frequently do orders that are like 5,000, 10,000 items, but those have a very high price tag with them, right? So you're getting a ton of quantity. We're more than capable of doing it. Very expensive. So I thought coming into BNI, you know what? Every single business in the world needs business cards. On an order of business cards, we make $3 on it. And so it's not a great, I'm not going to be retiring on doing business card sales by any means. But for me, I'm thinking like, hey, I'm new to BNI. I really want the opportunity to work with these potential customers. I can train them on like the quality of our service and like just give them some experience to my business because then I know I can win them over for, those bigger orders. And so for the first 6 months of my membership in BNI, I talked only about business cards.
Business cards for $3 of profit.
Low barrier to entry. Anybody can give me, and you know what I got a lot of referrals for? business cards.
Yeah.
And
Well, even 100 video business cards is $300, right?
It totally is,
100 referrals, that's a lot of referrals.
It is. But when you look at it in terms of like, what is the value of my BNI membership? After 6 months, I was like, okay, I'm not going to pay back my BNI membership. BNI is a waste of time.
Right.
And so I talked to my mentor at the time, who actually had a ton of BNI experience. And he was like, you know what? You're kind of an idiot. And it was the reality check that I needed, though, right? Because he was like, the members of our chapter are giving you exactly what you're asking for. And so people aren't going to get creative with your business. People aren't going to, help you identify like, hey, you do videography, right? Do you want to go over here and start, framing somebody's deck? People aren't going to make up things that have nothing to do with your business.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to repeat exactly what you trained them as your outside sales force to do.
Right.
So he said, you should start talking about t-shirts, right? Like that's really what you want from BNI is those larger t-shirt orders.
Right.
You want introductions to the community events and to the, the things in town where people are ordering a ton of t-shirts. That's what you should be talking about. So for the second half of my BNI membership, I talked only about t-shirts, and I made like $7,000 talking about only t-shirts.
This was your first year?
First year,
yeah.
Right? So like a lot of members who come into BNI, that first 6 months, you're kind of stumbling around in the dark, and you are doing what you think will give you business and what you think will allow you to develop some credibility with the members of our chapter and build relationships that will pass referrals. But sometimes that's not the best course of action. Right. So that's, again, one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast is how do we make it so that members that are brand new coming into BNI, have no BNI experience, can see a return on that membership, can, get those quality referrals. And it all comes down to training the members of our chapter to be your outside salespeople. Mm-hmm. And so one of the analogies that I also use is when you are joining a BNI group, imagine that you just hired 30 outside salespeople, right? Mm-hmm. If you were to go out and hire 30 outside salespeople, it probably cost you a couple $100,000 a year, but you wouldn't just on day one be like, okay, cool, go find me business.
Yeah, that's right. No, you'd train them.
Yeah, you'd absolutely train them, right? And you have to do the exact same thing to the members of our chapter. And what that training looks like, that's the one-to-ones that you're having. You're training it one-on-one a person in the chapter to be a better sales advocate, better referral partner for you during the 45-second weekly presentations that you're doing, right? You're telling people, this is the problem that I solve in our community. Please help me find people who have this problem so I can help solve this, provide a solution to them. And then also like in the longer feature presentation, I know we're going to do a whole video on this, but in the longer feature presentation, it should be talking about you and your capabilities, talking about the referrals and the problems that you sign. But every single thing that you talk to BNI members about should be under that sphere of, I am training you to better advocate for my business.
Yeah. And I've noticed a lot of the people that are really successful in BNI, they stay really focused on what they're asking for. And I know I'm kind of all over the map sometimes, but you're like, I want events, high school coaches, sports teams that want stuff for their players. And Jason's always right. I'm looking for people in car crashes, for the chiropractor. And he doesn't, I know Jason, he doesn't ever talk about people with sore shoulders or whatever. It's just car crashes. And you can't hear car crash without thinking about Jason, right?
Yeah.
It's like just comes up and boom, there it is. It's like in your brain.
And so now we're expanding a little bit beyond like what BNI trains you in BNI University, right? But there's marketing psychology there. Yeah. And so the marketing psychology is it takes the average consumer. So you and me, if you purchase something, you're a consumer. It takes the average consumer between 5 and 10 repetitions of hearing the same thing over and over and over again before they're going to go, oh, I remember hearing that last week or the week before. Yeah. And then after those first 5, then they start making some decisions, right? So they're thinking about, I could take action on that. So if during your 45-second presentation, right, you're talking about one thing, and then the next week you're talking about something else, and then the next week you're talking about something else, you don't give the members of the chapter the opportunity to get that repetition in. Mm-hmm. So now we might associate you with a bunch of general broad knowledge, but none of that is enough for us to pass a successful referral to you because you haven't you haven't dove deep enough onto the conversations that we would have to have in order to give you that referral.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the difference. And that's also why I will talk about the exact same topic for an entire month. Mm-hmm. So last month it was, I am looking for high school sports teams who want to set up a swag store on CorvallisCustom.com.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I know that because I've been there every week. And it's like, okay, that's what Jesse's looking for.
Exactly. But now my outside sales team, right, my BNI chapter members know exactly what I'm looking for. They know exactly the problem that I'm solving. And those 45 seconds don't have to be the same thing over and over and over again, but they should be under the same sphere of referral, right?
Right.
So one week I talked about to talk to coaches. Here's the problem I can solve for them with swag stores. I want to talk to family or like the parents who are going to be ordering the stuff. Here's the problem that I solve for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now when those conversations organically come up as you're interacting with coaches or you're interacting with, other members of our community or even players on those teams, right? I've given you a little bit of a sales pitch for every single one of those potential scenarios, and members of the chapter will pick and choose from those different scenarios to help advocate for my business.
And like you said, you want this to be a profitable referral for you. I mean, you got out of business cards, and I'm assuming the sports teams are profitable for you. This is why you're asking them for them, right?
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
it's a big order, right? And hopefully once you get them, they're coming back to you the next year and the next year and the next year.
Yep. When we set them up online, it's incredibly profitable for us. There's a lot of onboarding that comes there, but then all of the parents are ordering from CorvallisCustom.com. All of the grandparents who may live out of the city are ordering from CorvallisCustom.com. We now have a relationship with the coaches in the athletic department. We now have a relationship with the boosters, right? And even though fall sport, football, as an example, only happens once a year, guess what? Those same people in our community are going to be interacting in other ways that could also help my business. And now they have a relationship with me.
Right.
So that is a huge benefit.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So I think we learned quite a bit today about a lead versus a referral.
Good.
So we'll go deeper dives maybe on exactly how to do those presentation moments and maximize on this. But this is my little bit of a teaser for them.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So Scott Kemp, Cinematic Solutions.
Jesse with Corvallis Custom.
Okay. Until next time, happy networking.